Okay guys, so I have kind of like a weird live setup here, so you're going to hear some keyboard clicking. It's not going to sound as clean as the other videos, but I think that the best way to do like an in-depth guide is essentially to do a ride-along. So we'll walk through it, and we'll go through everything, and I don't like talking a lot before, so let's just jump in. Some of this stuff is going to be helpful to you guys, some of the stuff you might already know, I want to try to cover everything. So first things first, skills do come into play. In the last video, we talked about basic stuff, hacking, astrometric survey, stuff like that. But there are other skills in the scanning section. Astrometric pinpointing reduces maximum scan deviation, range finding, acquisition. You want to try to eventually train all of these up because every point you put into it just cleans up your spread and makes everything a little bit easier. That's me, by the way. There's old Brent Diesel. So what we want to look at essentially is... oh god, I'm tripping up. Okay. A lot of what you do when you go site scanning starts before you even leave the dock. And that comes first with planning. So you want to go to your map. My goodness, it's so weird like doing these live again. And I know for a fact that I have a nice little, so I'm in Doty, and there's a nice little two systems, I think they're right down here. Go Botane, no, yeah, Charvel. So in this little thing, it's sort of like baby's first low sec, where it goes HiSec, Charvel, Deacon, and then back into HiSec. And this isn't the one that I usually run. There's actually, if you look over here, oh my gosh, what a mess, the Eve map. Yeah, so you follow this out of Gel into Eggland, and then first of all, Secede is a dangerous place to go. Dahl is really dangerous. But this whole sort of kite-shaped looking area down here, see if I can make it come up. That's the lower edge. This is the upper edge. See how this is all low sec? So I'll essentially come down, come through Ardor, and then do this whole run down here. And I've got a few other pockets. And what I'm trying to show is that it's important to get used to where these things are because you spend a lot of time planning your route. But for this guide, I just want to, let's just do... Deacon and Charvel. And whenever you're planning a route, you want to use waypoints. So let's say that I was going to do the kite thing because it makes a little bit more sense for this part. I want to come in here. So let's say we set our destination for here. Boop. All these come up 6 jumps. Now, instead of just saying, well, what's the shortest route to here? I want to look at, I don't need militia ships. Ships destroyed in the last 24 hours. You can take a look and see what's been going on, see how that'll change the map. 13 ships destroyed last 24 hours, whereas Lantern hasn't had any ships destroyed last 24 hours. And as you look around, some of these places will just be more dangerous or less dangerous than others. So now you want to start using waypoints. 41 ships, woof, I am not going there right now. But for the sake of the, for showing you, you want to add a waypoint. And you pretty much want to draw, via waypoints, the route that you want to take. And it's important to get comfortable. Like, I can find these places on a map. I've been to them so much. And the reason why that's important is because I've also gone through, set safe zones for each one. And I generally understand the area pretty well. But you can see what I'm doing here, where I'm drawing where I want to go. 4 jumps, 3 jumps. Let's go to Deacon. And then we'll go through Charvel, and then we'll come out the other end here. Nice and easy, not too bad. That's set up. I make sure I pull up my... So under my personal locations, I have an exploring tab. You see I've got some 70 bookmarks. And these are all just safe spots of different places that I've been. Try to grab them up and they come into play as we move on. So we'll bring that back up in a second. Real quick, for the people that want to know, I'm flying the Astero. And it's going to give me drone hit points. We hope that never comes into play. Armor resistance, we hope that never comes into play. Core and combat scanner strength. Relic and data virus strength. I can't talk today. I'm sorry. And the cloak reaction delay. So this one is kind of built for not dying because it can be dangerous out there. So I've got things like a DC-2, a little bit of a tank on it, a little bit of a drone damage so I can scare away predators. But relic analyzer, data analyzer, micro warp drive, core probe launch with 8 probes in it, and I've got 8 in my cargo hold. The way that they redid reloading in this actually lets it up so before I can recloak, it'll reload itself, which is amazing. And then a covert ops cloak. So let's move on. And we undock. Okay, finally back out in space. And I'll close these up here. So we come down here to the bottom, open up our probe scanner, open up our directional scanner, which for us, we'll leave it 5 for right now. And Doty's always busy with a bunch of crazy stuff. And then we're also going to bring up our safe spots. And to be honest with you, I've seen overlays put together 100,000 different ways. And some of them are really effective and some of them are really messy and garbage. What matters the most is that you have a setup that works for you. Like I have my different corp and fleet and whatever chats that show up here, but I've got local so it's always up so I can see who's in it. My D-scan I keep here, my probe scan I keep here. It's just what works for you. Take some time. You're going to be spending a lot of time with all of these menus, so the more that you can get it set up, the better off you are. You can see my Deacon safe spot's actually the closest one here, so we'll keep jumping through, and give me just 1 second. Actually, while I'm flying, this is a good thing to point out. If you start to notice lag on your end, just wait, because you're going to be doing things that require you not to be found, and quick reactions if you are found. And having a 1.5 second, 3 second lag is already too much. You will get blown up because people love to blow us up. So just don't do it. Hit a safe spot, hang out for a second. You'll also hear a lot about like the cloaking warp trick. My Astero's align time is so short that I don't need to hit the micro warp drive, but you want to get used to every time you go into a system and warp off, you hit your covert ops cloak as soon as you hear them say warp drive activated. And my audio is currently feeding into the recording thing, so I can't really hear it right now, but I'm used enough to it. And so you'll see the ship will show up, immediately disappear as I warp off, because I hit my button as it says it. And you are a flicker. You can get through most gate camps, you can get through most anything, and once you're cloaked, as long as you don't get within 2,000 meters of something, you won't uncloak, which is great, because it really helps your life just calm down. There's a quick note that I'll put in here about checking Eve gate camps, checking kill boards, checking dotland. These are all good things to do, especially if you're going to a place you've never been before. But I'm used to this place more or less. It's not so bad. So here we are, and the first thing I want to do, let's say I've never been here, I want to set up a save point. So here's my current save point, actually. So here's us, and essentially what we do is we look around for a far off point. Somebody put a thing out here. So we're going to warp to within 100, and we're going to hit the cloak button as soon as we can, because there's already like a Proteus right there. Click it, hit the button, blink. There's nothing that they can do. So we pull up add location, and we just wait. And we watch our little guy go by, keep a track of how far. And when we think that we're a safe distance away from everything else, we hit submit, and it saves that bookmark in space, which is how I got the one that I have now, more or less. And you can essentially just fly back to that spot. And what's cool is that I'm cloaked, so nothing can find me right now. But if I ever come in here with a ship that can't cloak, and I need to go somewhere that it will take them a long time to scan me down, so we'll go back. We can just warp right to it. With the Covert Ops Cloak, you can warp cloaked, which is huge, and you have no velocity modifier. Absolutely worth your time. And we'll see it sneak on back here, and boom, we've got our own little safe spot. I'm not going to save this spot because I already have one, and I don't need it. But it brings us up to where we want to be, and it lets us move forward with the things. So we've got 4 people in local. I don't think that this is it's not a faction warfare site. So that's fine. And now we want to take a look here. We come down to our probe launchers. We want to filter out our anomalies because we just want cosmic signatures. And what we're going to do is we're going to uncloak, fire the probes. That's going to reload in the time it takes for us to recloak. So we're set up for the next system. It makes it a little bit more efficient. So we uncloak, fire the probes. And while that's doing that, we come over here and we get our setup. I'll slow it down. I'll let this go for right now. You'll notice that I'm not touching D-scan. I'll explain why in a second. And by the time that reloads, this is off cooldown. We cloak back up, and now we are done. It doesn't matter what's on my D-scan. My probes, obviously, but they can't scan me down. They can't find me. I'm in a safe spot. I am virtually untouchable. So I can just focus on doing what I'm doing. So I come down. I've always got that little 4AU probe size that I started off with. And pretty simple from here on out. We start and do our thing. Scan a couple of these guys down. Side view to bring it up. Now you'll notice as you go into low sec or null sec, the signatures start off bigger. So what I find myself doing a lot is I'll bring it up to 8 and then work down from there. While we're doing this, you'll notice that my scan duration, scan deviation, and scan strength are much higher. And that's because of those skills. That's because of the ship that I'm flying and because of the probes that I'm using. Eventually you want to use sisters probes, but it's not important. But you'll see the base value is 40. Skills at 38. Another module's ship gives me another 37. So my total bonus is 108.73. So my total value for my scan strength is 83.5, which is great. The single largest one of the three is probably scan duration. You just try to bring it down as much as you can because it's like a 10 or 11 second thing. Where did this go? So, one right here. I hope I'm not chatting too much, and I hope what I'm saying is useful, but you sort of get into the mindset where you just kind of do it. And the reason why this guide took so long is because I tried to do a scripted version of this, where I was talking about all these different things and hitting all these points, and then as it turns out, it just feels too artificial, where you can't really teach it in a classroom. You have to kind of just do it. Okay, so in doing my scan, the one I was scanning down is a combat site. I actually picked off another one that's a combat site, and we've got one signature left over here. So let's ignore those, unless you want to scan them down again. If you have friends, corp mates, alliance mates that love running sites, that love that stuff, let me get this started, my brain. Then you can scan that all the way down, zip over to it, add a location, and then you can save that in your corporation locations here. And then anybody in your corporation can get those, which I always think is really cool. But not what we're doing. We want to find sites and run money. There is another reality to talk about here, and you may have experienced it already, but the fact of the matter is that you're not going to find a lot of sites that are relic and data sites until you start to go into low sec, until you push out into less touched versions of space. I know the guides that I did were set for HiSec mainly, and you just won't find much. Another combat site, no good. So we recover our probes. They'll go into our cargo hold because our stuff is already reloaded, and we move on to Charvel. Drop this, let the warp happen. Now, you're going to realize, for whatever reason, the way that the game works is that you will come up on the gate, you'll get within 2,000 meters of it, you will uncloak, and then it'll jump you. And it's heart-wrenching every time it happens when you're near a gate camp. But you just have to trust that you're going to jump before you get locked or popped. It's just how it works. There's no way around it. You can't land and stay cloaked through a warp. So you'll see it hits, flickers my cloak off, and then it fires me. And I hate it, and that's how it is. Okay, so less people in system, 2 cosmic signatures, nobody on the gate. I pull it up. If I haven't been here before, I make my safe spot, one of which I already have, actually. Ooh, there's a Sino out here. There's 2 people in system. I think we'll be okay. Warp safe spot. As soon as she says warp drive, I hit the cloaking device. So I pop up, I pop away. There's just some rats. Don't mess. You're not gonna want to do that, I don't think. Alright, so we land, pull this up, click this off, fire the probes, and try to get a thing here. I mean, there's a cooldown and all that stuff, so you kind of get used to the amount of time that you have. Never try to do too much at once, but see, this is reloaded. We hit our button. Oh my gosh, put the cloak back up, and now we're fine. No one's going to see us. And now we just do our scanning. So the Sino field, the Sinosaural field, which is about 42 AU away, that is a beacon. And certain ships can put those up so that entire fleets can actually jump right to this system from wherever their bridge is. So they could be a bunch of systems away, and somebody lights the Sino, as they say, and entire fleets can jump in. So if somebody wants to take over a system or get reinforcements in really quick, that's a great way to do it. There's one other person here, so I'm pretty sure I don't have to worry about that. But if I start to see local fill up quickly, then I want to make sure that I just just scoot on out. Can you scan these, please? I was typing. That brings up another good point. So there's many little text boxes in Eve. And as you talk in your corpse, as you're talking, and you'll start to see this. And that's because you're hitting directional scan or you're hitting your actual scan, but it's registering as a keystroke. So when you're done looking at menus or you click on something, if you click over your people and places and I try to hit my directional scanner, it actually brings me down to a bookmark and it doesn't scan. So when you're not looking at other things, just click in space. Click once. If you click twice, you'll start moving in a direction. And now you can get your D-scans back and your other scans back. If you're wondering why that's not working for you, it's because you are probably in a menu and just typing your shortcuts for no reason. And this is more or less it. Now, if I don't hit a data site here, I'll keep looking. Oh, wormhole. Not fun. All right, let's talk about it real quick. Let me scan it down. What I'll do is I will pop into more low-sec systems and I'll scan down a data site or a relic site, and then we'll pick the video up there and I'll show you sort of where your brain should be, where your eyes should be, and talk out loud as I run a site, so you can see where things are. But let's just for the sake of fun and laughter, let's go check this out. So it's an REH729. It's not an exit, because an exit is always the same. I think it's KSB 126, something like that. But that means it's an exit from another hole, which means it's been opened from the other side, which is not good. But this is not. And against my better judgment, we will go take a peek at it. So we'll warp there, we'll stay cloaked, and we'll do some quick checks. It's a little bit of a side trek from, what I wanted to show you. But, you're going to come across these, and it's important that you just understand them, that you look at them, that you feel comfortable around them. So whenever you run into a wormhole, let's just walk through it. We're going to show info on it, and we're going to talk about this. Unstable wormhole. This usually collapses after a few days, can lead into... Okay, so this wormhole seems to lead into null security space. So it's not taking us into a wormhole. It's actually taking us out into null. It's beginning to decay. Probably won't last another day, so you've got around 24 hours. This wormhole is not yet stability significantly disrupted, so not a lot of ships have passed through it. And very large ships can pass through this wormhole. So I think that's dreads, like really big ships. So, and these will all change. If it's near death, this will say something different. Each line in this is designed to give you a little bit of information about it. But since it goes into null, I hope there's not a bubble on the other side. Let's just jump in. Let's just jump in and do it. And I'm not going to go through how to tackle a wormhole for scanning. That's a video on its own. It's not super fun because there's a number of other things that come into play. There's no local. You have no idea who's out there and who's looking at you. You want to scan everything down that you possibly can and gather as much intel about the wormhole as you possibly can. It's crazy, crazy difficult. But it can be worth it. Some wormhole loot is really, really good. But it's too much for a video. All right, so we jump through, and it puts us out in... So it threw us about 43 jumps away from my exit, which I wonder what it looks like on a map real quick. This is dumb. Why am I doing this? So we pull up the old star system map. Okay, so down here is where we just were, and this wormhole whipped us all the way up into the far north. I think this is Goons territory, so whipped us all the way up. I think we're in Branch. Yeah, we're in Branch. Which is really cool. So I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to do anything. We've seen it. I don't want to hang out in Goons territory for sure. So we're gonna do something different. Instead of throwing the cloak on, we're gonna pulse the micro warp drive just to get back there as fast as we can. So we're gonna hit it, pulse the micro warp drive, and then hit the cloak. And that's gonna bring my speed way up while cloaking my ship and getting me back to the wormhole. As you jump through a wormhole, you polarize yourself. Let's see if it pops up. Maybe that's just regular. Nope, there it is. So you'll see this orange timer around the wormhole, and what that means is that it's polarized, and that means that I can't jump back through it for a certain amount of time. And it usually would show up here. Who knows? But that's why you don't... Oh, there it is. Yeah. So 3.5 minutes until I can jump back through that wormhole. This becomes a problem if you're trying to jump back and forth, if you're in an altercation and someone's trying to kill you and you're trying to get away from them. You need to be cognizant of that. You can't just as much as you want. Okay, so I'm back, and I just got back from an 8-hour shift at my job. So Deacon and Charvel refilled on their cosmic signatures, and I didn't find anything in Charvel, but it looks like here in Deacon there is a data site. So we're going to try to zero in on that guy and bring that in and do the last part of this. I checked back the footage before I left. I don't know why there's not sound. I guess the joke is that, Eve doesn't have sound or whatever, but it's really frustrating. Oh, jeez, I messed up. So I'm really sorry that the game doesn't have sound. It's a weird... I'll bring back up one. It's a weird thing that is going on with this setup, and I don't like this setup, and I'm trying to get my old setup back. It's just going to take some time. I also realized that I say a lot, and I try my best not to do that. But when your brain is working a lot, you have these little mental bookmarks. It's not a problem. I'm just... That should be enough. I'm not really going to do these other cosmic signatures because we found what we're looking for, and we're already a little ways into this. So we're going to recover our active probes, and we're going to... I generally warp within 10K. It's sort of a default thing. We get our little thing here. Now, this is where we really want to start paying attention because there are a couple people in local, and one of them is suspect right now, which means that he can shoot at me. So we're going to start using our D-scan pretty regularly. We're going to keep it on the bubble at 360, and we're going to bring it in smaller and smaller. The idea is that if you can catch somebody on the 5K before they warp in on you, or even catch them at the 1K, but that's pretty close, this gives you a better picture. Depending on your comfort level, you can come out further to 10K, but it doesn't look like there's anybody around. And I've got 3 sites. So, take a look at... take a look at local, take a look at this. It is a data site, so I like to bring that up here. I've got my local here. It doesn't look like there's anything going on. And so we're going to drop the cloak, hit the micro warp drive, because we will do this as quickly as possible, and just continually be scanning our D-scan and checking over here as well. So let's just do it. I have... oh, God. No. Gotta fix this real quick. Oh, I was using another ship. So we want to keep it about 3K from it. 3K allows us to be far enough away that our data analyzer still works. Close enough that our data analyzer still works, and far enough away that we can immediately cloak if we see somebody show up that's not supposed to be here. So we'll hit this button, and we're still keeping a track of over here, right around here, and over here we're still hitting V, which is updating our D-scan, and now we play the relic game. Okay, and an easy way to get messed up is if you focus too much on the data thing, and you're not remembering to hit your D-scan, you're not checking your things, not checking local to see for new people coming in, it gets to be very messy. Okay, so the mainframe's around here somewhere. Check D-scan, there's our mainframe, crack it open, we certainly have enough to do that. And then we open cargo, check D-scan, check local, follow it all in, should open up. And I have it set up down here. I don't really need to know what I'm getting. I've already committed to getting it, if that makes sense. So whatever it is, I'll be able to check it once I'm safe. But in the meantime, I just want to get whatever I can. So, I don't know. I turned off my micro warp drive there. So we're checking. This is close enough, so we're going to do our mini game. And we're going to run down through here, check the directional scan. Nothing. Checking around. Okay, so it's over here somewhere. One of the big rules is this rule of 6. You see how these are connected on all sides? These are safe spots. And if you find something in the safe spot, then the mainframe is usually always attached to it. I have yet to run into an instance where it's not attached to it. And if I'm speaking way faster, it's because I'm super focused in right now. So, checking local, checking D-scan, checking our overview, grab this guy up, go to the next one, keeping our micro warp drive on so we can scoot on over there. You have to be careful because there's always a chance that if you bounce too hard against an object, it'll back you further than 5K away, and at that point your hacking will fail, and it'll count as a failed attempt, which really sucks. The way that this ship is set up, I know that I'm probably not going to bounce past 5K, so I've gotten used to just doing it right away, but depending on your ship type and what setup you have for your prop, your propulsion method, AB, or what have you, you want to pay attention to that. Still nothing on D-scan, nothing on the overview, which would be not what you want. So a restoration node is problematic because it doesn't heal itself, but it will add coherence to other things. So generally, they hit for not very much. You want to try to get rid of them as fast as you can. Too many of them, or one that's not dealt with, geez, guys, will absolutely crush your chance of doing this. This one is a mess. Okay. Check our D-scan. Because there are certain ships, Lachesis, combat recon ships, that can't be picked up by D-scan, which is super scary. So you're always sort of checking changes to your local, changes to your D-scan, and changes to your overview. One not showing something doesn't mean that you're safe. I will gladly take that, and I'll use it here, and I'll kill this guy, and that should give me... Oh my gosh, I don't know if I have enough. So we're going to have 10. We need more than that to roll into the mainframe with. So there's our mainframe, and we want to try to avoid doing something that makes it worse. That is certainly going to help, but it's still going to deal 10 damage, so that's not quite going to do it. That might work, actually. So let's cut it in half. Cut it in half again, down to 18. I do 30 damage. That's a win right there. That's beautiful. It's not necessarily that they're hard. It's just a matter of paying attention to what you can do. Okay, so all three of these are good. I'm going to warp out. The signature goes away, so at this point no one else is coming looking for me. And no one else has looked for me yet. I've got myself about 3.5 mil, so it's just... I didn't get lucky. I didn't win the lottery on that one. And that's it. We're back out. We're away from everything. We can cloak back up. And then we just move on. You rinse and repeat. And the point of the ride-along was just to show how much, where your focus needs to be, the fact that you can't let go of any one thing. You want to be paying attention, but that's really it. I find it very, very, very rewarding, especially when you get a good haul and you pull in maybe like 100 mil or 300 mil off of like a few sites because you found a good one or you found a ghost site. If it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's okay. There's a million ways to play this game, but I really like this one, and I hope you really liked the ride-along version for the advance. I don't know that I'll do these too often because I feel super scattershot right now, but I'm going to try to get some more videos out, so take a look, and again, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful to you, and I'll catch you in the next video.